I don't want to hear from apologists of Labour, apologists of Keir Starmer, that somehow because, early on in the brutal genocidal onslaught, the opening chapters of the onslaught, when he said that Israel has the right to cut off food, water, electricity, um, you know, the argument being made and being put forward as a way to excuse that is that he wasn't really answering the question literally. He was just saying that Israel has the right to defend itself. Only that it's a very important point being made, because at that moment Israel was defending itself in the same way that the Nazis would defend themselves by opening gas chambers. What people need to understand is that the reason why people commit genocide, why people commit these massive morally insane, morally denigrated acts, is because they want to secure, support, or defend themselves in some certain way, in a twisted way. This is their way of defending their honor, their own dignity. For the evil person, there is always a sense of victimhood. There is always a sense of an injustice that needs to be corrected, and they correct it in the most heinous, violent way. So when Israel has the right to defend itself, it's doing so within the context of it committing a genocide. Now, Keir Starmer obviously did not want this to be on record in the same way that we already know it, being clearly indicating that he himself does not care about the genocide of Palestinians. Of course, the way he callously talked about Palestinians would not stand the test of time, would not be, and wouldn't be the sort of a way you would talk about other ethnic groups. You'd never talk about Ukrainians in that way. You'd certainly not talk about Israelis in that same way. Now, Keir Starmer would like to, and the Labour Party would like and even Andy Burnham is saying, it's just poor choice of words, a poor choice of, just messaging. Of course, when Keir Starmer is shown that Israel is intentionally targeting children, he looks the other way. In fact, he does not respond to it, which of course means that he hasn't actually learned anything. He hasn't actually had a kind of a change in perspective, a change in messaging. He just doesn't care about Palestinians as human beings. So we must understand and we must recognize that the Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, this current incarnation of the Labour Party, which includes Andy Burnham, because Andy Burnham has not gone to any lengths to condemn the Keir Starmer in any meaningful way. He's just trying to defend the honour of the party that he is now looking to lead. So unfortunately, unless real recognition of Palestinians as human beings is made, then unfortunately the demon spawn that is Keir Starmer and the demon spawn of Peter Manson, Tony Blair, that haunt the party still have left is a long-lasting stain on the party. There needs to be a complete shift in the way that the party communicates, complete shift in policy, and it needs to be instead of an arm and a leg of the establishment, it needs to actually fight for human rights, for equality, for justice, for working class rights. Unfortunately, Keir Starmer, it appears that he is a genocidal maniac, but he does so within the facade of a sensible person. And Keir Starmer, is not alone in the case in the Labour Party. In fact, there are other more belligerent, more openly genocidal people within the party. But it's sad because the Labour Party was supposed to be a socialist, pro-worker party, but it's now the furthest thing from it. So unfortunately, Keir Starmer has not learnt anything and is still pro-genocidal, it appears. And as I hope you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you.